Okay, so this is my maybe 5th or 6th weekly update. I think it might be the 5th, but we're coming to the end of the rehearsals now. So after this week, it'll be rehearsal week where we will do our tech show, and so this is a Monday, bank holiday Monday. So the week coming from tomorrow, we'll be doing the rest of rehearsals, and then the week after that, we're doing tech rehearsals and just making sure everything's done. So this is one of the last proper rehearsal weeks. So this last week, this week for you, starts on the 29th. So this was, I think, was our first week back from the half term. I think, maybe, yeah. So this was our first week back from the half term. And we got straight into some art house rehearsals because art house really needed it. And yeah, so we sat down as a directing group. So me and the assistant directors and Sam, who is our one of our tutors, who was also directing. We sat down and spoke about who was going to carry on the script because it needs to be done. So Danny had finished her part and I'd finished my directing, but I had to carry on from My Girl up until page 30 something, I think, that I get to. So from there we carried on, and I got the people I needed for my cast. Everyone's really open to just join in if you need them. So I got the people I needed for my cast, and we started with, I think it was a garage scene when Joe has come back. So all his friends are there, and Emma and Louise have this major like comedic moment, so it was really important for me to get the relationship between Emma and Louise perfect. So I made sure that I wanted to ask the actors personally, and I said, what is your character? I need you to describe your character to me so that then I can add texture on top of your character, what you're deciding. So from Emma, it sounds like Emma is a little bit, he's the ditzy one in the group. So that's played by Tao. So I made sure he played up on that and made sure he was really animated. So their relationship had to be really tight. But then also there's kind of like the bully in the play who's not, but he's kind of that character type who Emma and Louise are kind of scared of because they sort of want to be him. So the relationship between them had to be really important. So every time he'd enter the stage, I'd make sure Emma and Louise got a bit shy, even if they weren't speaking, or changed their posture, changed the way they spoke their lines, got a bit higher pitched maybe to show the fear. Billy and Angie were also in the scene, and I see them as like the cheeky girls in school. So I made sure that everything they said was like they were gossiping about someone, or they were trying to give someone a compliment, but it's backhanded, so it's not really a compliment. So it's really this whole scene was just really important to get the comedy and make sure it's laddish still, which I know I've said before, but it has to fit in with the music, the style of music, which I would call pub culture, and laddish. It has to fit in with that because the play's quite that. And from Camden itself, so I've been to Camden before, so trying to think of that and then Madness and bringing that to Solihull and trying to really get that to happen on stage. But I really enjoyed directing that scene. We then moved on to Mr. Pressman and Heather. So this was kind of difficult because, again, I don't know the play, and that is something I've done on purpose so that I can read the script and come into it with a fresh view and not copy something that's already been done. So it was kind of a bit confusing for me, so I got the actors to just explain to me because they knew it better than me, because I'm not in our house, I'm only a dancer. So the Mr. Pressman and Heather scene, the relationship between them had to be strong, and I saw it as Mr. Pressman has a kind of Heather is kind of his mistress. He's got a wife and kids, but he does stuff with Heather because does stuff for Heather, shall I say? Because there's a line where she says, "This house is for his secretary. He sometimes gets something in return." So obviously you take that how you want to take it, but I see it as that Heather's kind of a bit jealous because she hasn't received anything yet. She hasn't received a house or a car, and but she's madly in love with him. She's this young ingenue that is just crazy about Mr. Pressman. So every time she's called him, she was like, "Mr. Pressman, Mr. Pressman," like a dolly girl, or I saw it a bit like Barbara Windsor in the Carry On films. But it was difficult to get that across to my actor because it wasn't cast when they did the casting, so I just grabbed someone that was in the room, and she did a good job, but it just wasn't coming across as the way I wanted it to, so I told her to go home and research these things. And the Mr. Pressman character, he needs to be a lot more stern, but also just fed up. Like, he doesn't care about Joe Casey and his ideas. It's just like, yeah, I know you want to be a young businessman, whatever. That wasn't coming across either, so they really need to work on their relationship, but we've got time. On to the 30th, which was the Tuesday. This was again an art house rehearsal. So we start this day with a tutorial, and in tutorial, me and the assistant directors got together and had a chat about how we were going to show the good and bad Joe Casey, because it's coming so close to the date now. And every scene that we're doing, it's kind of showing it, and we need to show it. So Danny is the first person to show the change from Joe to good Joe or to bad Joe. So she's used boards, like black and white boards, that have the ensemble, and they do like movement pieces and stuff. So we just thought it'd be natural to just use that, but use them in a fun way. So I went back to my directing scenes and tried to figure out how to slot in the boards and where they needed to go. So we went through the script and wrote when there needs to be a change. So I have a scene where which is My Girl, the song, and the boys are drunk, so I wanted the ensemble to kind of have like a switch. So if we've got the stage here, that the main cast, the three boys would move to this side, and the ensemble would like come on, and it'd kind of be like a switcheroo, but they'd switch on each side of the stage, but the ensemble would come on drunk as well. So it's like everyone's out on a night out, and it's like great. And then the moment he changes, the ensemble change, and it's kind of like they spot him, he spots them, the boards go up, Joe's changed. So it's not a physical thing that he does. Yeah, we need to see it in his physicality and his voice that he's a different Joe, but it's kind of a moment for the audience to know. So I do that, and then also in Mr. Pressman's office, Joe changes just before he walks in the door. So I had an idea to have the ensemble with the boards to be the door, and when he walks past them, they switch them. So it was just unique ways to try and get the Joe to change, which it's going to get harder because we're going to slowly run out of ideas. So yeah, that's something we're gonna have to work on and make sure that if anyone else takes over directing. So we've got Ella, she's another dance teacher that comes in, but she takes over some directing, that she knows our notes as well, so that she can add them in. Then it was the 1st of May, which is our Wednesday. So we also started this lesson. This was the day the scaffolding was being built, so we were having scaffolding as our set. This was being built on this day, so he wasn't allowed in the theatre for the day. So instead, we split off and tried to decide a name for the play. So we got into groups, and I've always wanted a postcode because it's unusual. It literally says exactly what it needs to say, but it's a street, it's in a place. but you're not going to expect what's happening. But the only problem is that we've got one that's set in London, which is NW1, which is Camden, and we've got one that sets in Liverpool, which is LE, whatever area they're in Liverpool. So that's a problem. So me and Abby, we thought, let's just mix the two together and have like NW1, LE3, or like an area, pick a rough area in Liverpool, and maybe a place where Willie Russell grew up as a nod to him, and have that and try and mix. So we put that on the idea board. I am really against having the two names of the plays mixed together. So people are thinking Our Brothers, Bloodhouse, Baggy Brothers, just not funny names for the cast because we're in it, we think it's funny, but as an audience member, I wouldn't go and see something that was called that, and I wouldn't be interested in something like that. So I was trying to think of stuff. So I kind of liked Tell Me It's Not True because it's a song in Blood Brothers, but it kind of relates to both. The Right Path was one of them. It's in Your Hands. My group was trying to do the superstition in both plays and the weirdness and the way that there's always someone watching you, and through the looking glass and stuff like that. So yeah, that was our first task. I had pictures to put up on my liner notes to show the other ideas. We then carried on with a Blood Brothers rehearsal, which actually wasn't meant to be a rehearsal. Oh, actually, sorry, I forgot. So before we go on to that, after our deciding the names, we got given sheets of paper, and it was a task to do where we had to mark ourselves at where we think we are now. So yeah, and I always find these things really difficult to do, and it was really difficult to do. The wording of some of the questions really confused me, and also I think marking myself, because we haven't been told what grade we got for each other unit, I'm kind of not sure where I'm working at the moment, so I just put myself as a merit or a pass because I don't think I'm working at distinction level yet. I think that my liner weight could improve a lot. I feel like I'm lacking research, but I don't know what else to research. So yeah, that was the task of the day. I took myself away from my friends and really tried to focus on it because I just wanted to get it done because it was quite a big task to do. We then, some of us in Blood Brothers wanted to do a rehearsal. The scaffolding was up, so we were allowed to go in there. There was just a couple of us, and we just wanted to devise until they become adults, because then Kelly was going to take over from then. So me and Danny, who's my other assistant director who's playing Linda, we kind of like shared the directing through that. So if Danny was in a bit, I'd direct it. If I was in a bit, she'd direct it. So we shared it, and we both feel like we really understand Blood Brothers and understand the style. So it was fun to work with her and to bounce off each other. And yeah, I just really had a good time working with Danny, and also the cast. It was nice to have that, not just have it as our directing or Kelly's directing, it was everyone, and it was everyone's ideas. It was really nice. I then went to go and do a singing rehearsal with Sam. She seemed to be really impressed with my song. It was the first time I'd done it with the backing track, and it kind of threw me off a little bit at first, but I always think that I'm good under pressure and I'm good at picking things up, so I picked it up fine. The only thing that we changed was some of my pronunciation of some of the words, and at the end, instead of it goes, he's knocking at your door, he's knocking at your door, so like he goes up on knocking, we scrapped that, and instead it's going to be even bigger, and it's going to go, he's knocking at your door. So then the door is going to be like the big one, and that like your door is going to be the note. So I hit that when we did it in rehearsal in her office, and she seemed really impressed, so I'm confident about that. And I think to just have that from a tutor who's been through processes like auditions and drama schools, it's kind of nice to know that you're respected and you feel like you are good enough. Because before that I was kind of a bit, I don't think I like the song, I don't know if I can do it. But after that I really feel confident now, so I'm actually really enjoying that. We also worked on some of my other songs, because I sing quite a lot, but it's like reprises but at different speeds. So we worked at them and she likes them. So yeah, that was the first. Then the rest of the week, I'm going to speak through, but the rest of the week we just did Blood Brothers rehearsals. So the cast always was in Blood Brothers rehearsals. So the second was 2nd of May. We continued to devise with Kelly. This was, we got to a montage scene. So the narrator talks about, they go from 15 to 18 and it's like a 2-page monologue that the narrator does. And we wanted to do this as a kind of like a montage. So the narrator would speak and interact with the kids, but as different people, but being the narrator, so it'd be freeze frames. He also would touch them at certain points and they'd come to life. It was just a process of devising it and seeing what worked. Kelly would go away, see what we've done, then come back, put her input. So yeah, it was just a nice process to do, and it's kind of easy to do because it says in the script exactly where they're going. So it's like a boat trip, Mrs. Wang's chippy, there's loads. So it was kind of a simple task. It was just working out where they're gonna go and where I'm gonna go, because I have to be always watching. I doing the monologue for me, because I'm playing the narrator, it's fine. I feel like I'll remember it. It's just the pacing, because it's not one of his intense monologues. It's kind of a fun thing, and he's saying let them go and play, and so the pace I need to work on, and I also need to work on my pauses and where to pause, because that's important. Because if I pause in the wrong place, the audience are gonna pick up a different emotion than what I'm trying to put across. Oh yeah, and I did my different reprise speeds, so I rehearsed them actually in the space, and people like them, so I did them with the cast. And my relationship with the characters have really started to build. So there's a moment when me and Abby are literally having like a standoff over the table, and I'm singing in her face, and it's like she's finally saw her guilt, Mrs. Lyons, who Abby plays, and it's like a really intense moment. And Abby's the choreographer, so we're going to do some table work with it and really make it unusual but really aesthetically pleasing for the audience. And it's really fun to do, and I feel like I'm starting to believe the narrator and feel like I am him. He's a very complex character. I do think he's easy, but he's easy because he hasn't got a huge emotional arc throughout the play. He pretty much stays at one level, but it's also hard because he's everywhere at every point. I don't really leave the stage through our second half. After kids game, I'm permanently on the stage and I go off for like minutes at times, so I'm always there watching everyone. So it is a big role, but I've done it before and I'll be fine. So yeah, my relationship with the characters are building. Relationship with Mickey, that he's always clicking him on, and Mickey sort of sees him in a scene, like or feels him, and he brushes past him, and we're working on these little nuances where the cast see him for a second, but then he's like, you know, when you notice something out the corner of your eye, we're working on that because he needs to be felt in every scene. I also stepped in to play the policeman, so the narrator in the play that we've got, it doesn't actually say the narrator plays the policeman, but in the one I went to see, he does. So yeah, I stepped in to do that, and that's always fun for me. But I also did the scene with Tao, which is our knife scene where I'm the conductor and Tao's got the knife, and that was a pretty difficult scene because we're meant to be on a bus, but the angles from our stage, because the scaffolding looks like it's on a tilt, but it's not. It's our theatre's on a tilt, so it's kind of, it looks weird. But yeah, Kelly came in and sorted that out. But we really, me and Tal, need to work on our intensity in that, because I also play Sammy, which I'll talk about later. But we, the relationship between the conductor and Sammy needs work a lot, because the intensity has to be there, and the conductor is scared of Sammy, but also he's just like, he's a man as well, but he just wants no trouble. That needs some working, but it's just the rehearsals, we'll be fine. So yeah, then we go to the Friday, which again was a Blood Brothers rehearsal. This is where we started the day and Kelly said, we're finishing devising today, so it was full on for the whole day. We actually began with a chat about if our version of Blood Brothers needs to be the same as the Willie Russell one. That yes, it's the same script, but are we trying to show the same things as he is? So there's kind of moments in the play where we feel like we don't need to be in there. And Kelly wanted to do this as like a montage. So like there's like a moment of passage where you see Mickey go on this journey, but it's quite fast, and then at the end, he's at the end of the play. We had a cast discussion about it, and I thought that it'd be really cool if it was maybe to Mr. Lyons' song, which is a sign of the times. So we looked at that, and I also thought that it needs to come in when Mickey goes crazy, basically, because then you see his passage, and then you see the pills, his relationship with Linda deteriorating, his relationship with Eddie deteriorating, his relationship with Mickey Sammy getting stronger, but also worse, because you don't want them to get them stronger. So that was a definite. But in my head, I kept thinking of a Conscience Alley, but kind of a different one. So the character won't walk down an alley and people shout things out. It will be the character moves from scene to scene and they animate. So we went through the script. It was quite a tedious process. Went through the script scene by scene from where we'd got to, and thought of the important bits that needed to be said. So like a couple of lines from each scene. We rejigged them around. We take bits from Mr. Lyons' monologue, song, and took the important parts. So I'm just going to read it out. So after my monologue, which is winter turned to summer and someone said they saw the boogeyman around the town, Mickey and his mum come on and do a scene, and then from there the ensemble say, all of us in the cast say, I'm afraid we must fire you, we no longer require you. No, actually I've got that wrong, sorry. So yes, here we are. So I say, one day in October, and someone said they saw the boogeyman around town. Then he goes, Ma'am, which is Mickey. So he goes, Ma'am, Mrs. J, what? Ma'am, Linda's pregnant. Do you love her? Yeah. When's the wedding? And then he's going to move from there to Edward, which is on a different part of the stage. But as he's moving, the ensemble say, it's a premature retirement for those surplus to requirements. Then the scene with Mickey and Edward starts, which is, Mickey, what's wrong? You're a dickhead. Then he does a massive monologue. Then go on before I beat you. You go on, beat it before I hit you. Then the ensemble say, unemployment is such a pleasure. These days we call it leisure. I'm afraid we must fire you. We no longer require you. These are parts from Mr. Lyons' song. Then Sammy. He moves to Sammy during we say that, and Sammy goes, look, I'm offering, we don't use the shooters, they're just frighten us. All we need is someone to keep an eye out for us. Look, Mickey, look at ya. What have you got? Nothing. Like me mum. Where are you taking your tart for New Year? Nowhere. 50 quid, Mickey. Cheer up, will ya? It's New Year. And then Sammy sort of pushes him into Linda, then the Linda scene starts, which is, where you going? Is that your Sammy? Now shut up, Linda. Mickey, no. Then Sammy takes Mickey off. And then there's a gunshot, which represents that scene, which is the gun. Then the narrator goes, there's a man lies bleeding on the floor, and maybe if you counted to 10 and kept your fingers crossed, it would just be a game and no one would have lost. Then the ensemble goes, for a moment, we must suggest you don't become too depressed. Then Mickey comes on saying, Linda, where's my tablets? I need them. Linda goes, what about me? What about what I need? I can't see you when you're on them. Then Linda runs to Edward and starts to kiss and fall in love. Mickey goes mental and watches and then looking for the gun. But as that's happening, the ensemble are going, he's walking round in circles, he's old before his time, but still too young to know. Don't look at him, don't cry though, this is living on the gyro. Then the narrator goes, there's a madman gone mad in the town tonight, he's going to shoot somebody down. There's a man gone mad in the town tonight, lost his mind tonight. Then ensemble goes, there's a madman, there's a madman, there's a madman, and we're round and round. Then the narrator sings, now you know the devil's got your number. And then Linda comes back on and goes, ma'am, what's... Then Mrs. J goes, it's Mickey, Mickey's got a gun. Linda goes, Mickey, Eddie, the town hall. Mrs. J goes, what? Linda goes, Eddie, lions. Then they continue to run off, then there's a blackout, and then the last scene starts, which is at the town hall. So that was a lot for us to do, and we did it, me and Abby sort of sat and wrote it all out after we decided what we needed to do. So yeah, that was a lot. But it was fun to do some rewriting, and it was also fun that I kind of directed that scene. I kind of decided where everyone was going because it's my idea. So that was fun to do. I don't really know what else to say than that it was fun, because I like it. I like directing and I like to do things like that. So it wasn't challenging for me. It was challenging the fact that I'd never done something like that. I don't really do musicals and direct them anyway, so I didn't know the vibe, but we're happy with what's come anyway. Then after that, we that finished about 2:30, and then Kelly said that she can stay for another half an hour. And the understudies, I play Sammy. I've never actually played him in a rehearsal yet. Like, I know some of his parts, but not a big enough rehearsal. So the whole of our cast, which is the main cast, stayed behind to help the understudies. So we ran the show with the understudies. Some of the understudies had to leave at certain times, which is kind of annoying because now we're going to have to pick it up again, but we're a team, so we'll just work on it. But yeah, we all stayed behind and made sure that they knew their blocking. It was rough because they hadn't done it before, but that's kind of the job of an understudy. They have to pick it up fast. But once they know where they stand on stage, then that's fine, because they're at the same point as the main cast now. We've blocked everything. Now we can go in and add characterisation. They're at that point. They've just blocked it once. We've maybe blocked it twice. So we're at the same place. So yeah, but it was nice to stay and play Sammy for a bit, and to help Amber. So Amber's my understudy. So I was kind of like going through the script as Sammy, but then going, Amber, go and stand over there, so that she knew where she was going to stand, and then I was kind of forgetting where she needed to stand because I was in her mind, and I was like, where am I going? So yeah, my Sammy needs work. Kids game, I'm really confident about that. When Sammy's a kid, I'm fine with. But when Sammy gets older, it kind of goes out of my comfort zone. But I feel like I can do it because his scene's been cut now to just that bit that I've read. I'll be okay. And it's going to be fun to be a gangster for a couple of hours. So yeah, I'm excited to start rehearsing this week though, because I feel like we're really going to get a feel for the show now. So yeah, thank you.